guys, and welcome to ACEcast Nation. I'm your host, Si. We've got podcasts, interviews, and content on all sorts of subjects, including football, mental health, films, TV, MMA, combat sports. You name it, we've got it. We've also got our popular series, Unscripted and Uncensored, where you, the viewers, set the questions for the guests, which are always a lot of fun. We also have a new series, My Story, which is where I take different people from different walks of life through their life and career. We had our first episode of that last week, which was with Mr. Chris Lewis, former England international cricketer, which was a lot of fun, and he took us through his upbringing and into his career, his stint in prison, and his time after that. Next episode of that is Mr. Rhys Weston, former Wales international, former Cardiff City defender, former Arsenal defender, which was a lot of fun to record. And I got some very interesting episodes of that to come, including a former EastEnders actor, which I'm looking forward to. But today, I'm joined by Cardiff City fan, now YouTuber, football writer, former Merthyr Councillor, Mr. Adam Brown. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Hi, Shay. How are you doing?
Not too bad at all, mate. It's Friday night, so it's nice and relaxed as always. I think I got a feeling it's probably warmer where you are than where I am.
Yeah. We're averaging around about 18 to 20 at the moment.
No, it's hard life, isn't it? Jesus Christ.
I know. It's a nice place to spend your UK winters, I tell you.
Yeah, it must be a struggle. I gotta say. So yeah, you're not at home tonight. You're in your local. You're a local. Was it pub, cafe?
Yeah.
Restaurant?
It's local bars, UK British pub. If I can just span it around.
Yeah, you go.
Okay. Basically, I'm in an outside area because of the music, but it's called the Victorian Albert, and it's in Benavista, in Marbella district. So anyone knows the Marbella area, you've got Marbella, San Pedro, and Marbella, San Pedro, then Benavista. So it's about 5 minutes away from Marbella itself.
All right, okay. So nice place to live your life, mate.
I know. I do apologise. My best friend just wanted to borrow my car keys there. So
you're right. That's all right. It's all right, mate. So a couple of beers tonight then, and a night out in Marbella, is it?
Yeah. I've been my workload at the moment is hectic. I'm been this busy since before I was married, I reckon. When I was very target driven.
Yeah.
And while it's good to be busy, it also, as you get older,
you takes out you more, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really does, honestly.
Oh yeah, I think thing is, like, as you get older, like, your priorities change a bit, and the way you look at stuff change as well. So like how you might have looked at stuff when you were younger, like 20 years ago, you look at things completely different now.
Well,
and I think.
Sorry.
Oh, go on. You carry on, mate.
Hopefully, our discussion tonight will show how my priorities have changed as my life and career has moved on. Really.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned when I introduced you, obviously you were a councillor in Merthyr, which I think is where you're from. But
yeah.
So just for the people perhaps who are not familiar with like who you are and whatnot, because I know we have viewers and listeners from all over the UK and America and France and all Spain as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, tell us a bit about your upbringing and where you're from, and just really how you got to where you were now.
Yeah, no worries. I was adopted, basically adopted from birth. If you look at my mum and dad, thank God I'm adopted. No, that's just a joke. That's just a joke. I swear. She'll kill me. Now, but basically, it took about 5 months to get through the red tape and the paperwork. for the official adoption to come through. And then one of my earliest memories is going with my mum, because my mum walked out on my dad for a number of reasons, and none in which I blame her for. But I was in a car with her, as we moved into my grandmother's.
Okay.
So very, very similar as it is today, I suppose, when you have parents who are either split or divorced, and the child has a day or two with the other parent who they aren't living with.
Yeah.
As a few months went on, back in 1984, diabetes wasn't as controlled as easily as it is today. And my father was a diabetic.
Okay.
And on Valentine's Day, the first Valentine's Day in 1984, so it would have been the first Valentine's Day that he was that they had split up. He was babysitting me, and we were watching football. We were watching football, and like any other father-son, moment, I suppose. The father lies in, cuddles up with the child to watch the football, lying down on a sofa.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it was. And as I remember, as the game was going on, normally he would be awake, but he was constantly sleeping, and I don't know how long he was. Well, later now I knew that he was in a coma, but I didn't know how long he was sleeping for until something just triggered in my mind that I needed to get help. Now, the old Valley's front doors, the lock on the thick wooden front doors, the lock would be probably about 3/4 of the way up the door.
Yeah.
So it was too high up for me. So I remember going into the kitchen, grabbing a chair, taking that, then I'm pushing it against the front door for me to jump onto the chair to reach up and unlock the door. I then got help from a neighbour, and that was basically the last time I see my dad alive. His refusal to accept that him and my mum, in my opinion, he done a selfish act because I was still his son.
Yeah.
And that will never I will never forgive him for what he done on that day.
So
Then,
how old were you then, mate? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no worries. I was 5 years old then. I'd be 6 just a few months later, because my birthday's in June.
Yeah. So that's incredibly traumatic for a young child to have to process and deal with. It's traumatic for anyone of any age to have to go through and deal with.
I
For
think
someone so young, it is.
I think also as well, as time went on, it was also probably worse because I was adopted. Because I've always had a fear-stroke problem with rejection. I know everybody has rejection. No, nobody likes rejection, but knowing that my birth parents rejected me from the day I was born, and then my first adopted dad, then rejected me, in my opinion. it's that kind of mindset which, unfortunately, it sets you up for the rest of your life, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, like things which happen to you throughout your life, whether you're a child or an adult, they mold and they influence how you deal with stuff, how you process stuff, your relationships, everything. Like my father died when I was 16,
Okay.
um, and it took me 20 years to really come get to grips with it and like deal with it properly. Like for many years I wouldn't go to the cemetery and things like that, and in fact I ended up doing one of my earlier podcasts, like we're 150, this is the 150 something episode, but like I think it was in the first 15 episodes I did a show with Phil Brown, who works for Talk Sport, who had a
Okay.
particularly traumatic experience where he came home to find his partner had passed away, and then he struggled with addiction and things like that.
Yeah.
And after that, and we did a show basically talking about mental health and grief and addiction because we'd both had kind of grief which we hadn't really dealt with and processed, and then we'd both had issues. Like I'd had issues with drinking, he'd had
Yeah.
issue with painkillers, and it was only after I did that show and talked about it for like 2 hours and went into detail of all the different things that I had done over the years, either not dealing with it or trying to deal with it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I come off that show and I was like, I felt relief
Yeah.
because it was the first time I felt like I'd done something with it. But anyway, sorry, I completely
No, 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 no,
digress.
no, 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 no,
Um,
no. Just to follow on from your point, really. My mum then remarried 2-3 years later to a lovely guy, who then went through the legal process of officially being my second adopted dad.
okay.
But very very similar to the point you made then. If I'm honest with you, I probably didn't accept him 100% until many years later. And
Yeah.
and grief hits people different ways. And some people may say it's an easy cop out for all the wrongs I've done in life later on in life, but there's definitely links to certain points.
The thing is,
As my life has gone on.
yeah, it's unavoidable, isn't it? Like, no matter what happens, whether it's positive or negative or neutral, whatever happens in those formative years as you're growing up has an influence on how you go about anything, whether it's
Yeah.
relationships or if you like. My dad was really bad with money, and
Okay.
I'm exactly the same. Like I get money and I burn through it in very short space of time. And it's only since I've had kids that I've kind of got a bit better with it, and because I've had to. But like before that, I blow through it in days sometimes.
Oh, I know that feeling.
And like that's kind of like I got that from him without realizing it. Like he wouldn't talk to me about how bad he was with money.
Yeah.
But it's just something which automatically kind of I picked up on or subconsciously. So like when you think of something as subconscious as that, and then you think of something which is a bit more what's the word, like a bit more, I don't, not brutal, but like it's a bit more like in your face, or like it's a bigger
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's less subconscious is what I'm trying to say, in terms of like adoption, or like your father, your first adopted father passing away. Like, so how old were you when you found out that you were adopted?
Oh, for very young age.
So you kind of knew
Very young age.
all along,
Yeah,
really, did you?
because if you look at my mum, if you look at my mum and dad, I'm sure my mum would have thought, right, he looks completely different to us. We need to tell him before he went
Yeah.
into full-time school, really. My mum got
Yeah.
ginger hair. My dad
Right, okay.
used to play prop, so it was kind of like as early as I can remember. But if you count, because during the time of I left my birth mum, there was like a 5-month kind of fostering gap. I had to stay
Right,
with
okay.
foster parents. So by the time I was 8, realistically, I had 4 dads and 3 mums. So I wonder if any of your guests have beaten that record yet.
No. It's a lot, isn't it? I mean, do you feel like how did you deal with that as you were growing up, like from kind of like primary school age up into, like through puberty and into teenage years? Because that must have played a part in kind of how you were and how you interacted with people, or, just how you were generally.
I say like mid-teenage years to probably still now, I suppose. But not in such an in-your-face kind of way. But I always felt I needed to be center of attention.
Yeah.
Because of my years of being rejected. So as time went on, it was, I would be the one starting the fighting in town on a Friday night. I would be the one who got sent off playing football on a Sunday afternoon. It was a kind of like look at me attitude, I suppose. And you can even put that through to, my traveling days, because back then people thought you'd need a passport to leave South Wales. So I suppose me wanting to be the center of attention kind of was a complete reverse of being rejected, I suppose.
Yeah. And I suppose, like, if you've got a kind of like a anxiety about rejection, is any attention which you can get, whether it's negative or positive,
Yeah, exactly.
it's going to be a big thing, isn't it? So you grew up in Merthyr, was it? Was it Merthyr
Yeah.
you grew up in?
Yeah, Dowlais, the People's Republic of Dowlais. I'm 40. I'm 41, but the Dowlais winters have put 10 years on me, I tell you.
So you've grown up in Merthyr. Did you used to go and watch Merthyr play football, or have you always gone like to watch Cardiff?
Well, back then going to Cardiff was a big, massive day out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because the world is so much smaller these days.
Oh yeah.
So it was. I watched Merthyr for majority of my younger years, and then when I got into secondary school, then a few people used to go down watch Cardiff on a train. From Merthyr, took from there. I've always been enthusiastic about football. And from a very, very young age. And with that comes the friendships, the social friendships, the social, interaction with people. And some of those friendships have lasted me,
The whole
decades.
life.
Yeah, and hopefully for the rest of my life.
Yeah, sometimes football fans get a bad name anyway, but like I look back and you look back at the away trips and the day trips and the road trips with your friends, which there's nothing beats it. It's like the camaraderie of it all.
That's correct.
and just, I don't know, like just whether it's on a minibus or a car or whatever, a train, just going away with your mates. There's nothing quite like it.
Well, to be honest, actually watching a football was probably the worst part of the day.
Well, yeah, especially back in them days for Cardiff, it was horrendous.
But on about the camaraderie and so on, let's be honest. The culture of going to a football is far different to what it is now.
Oh God, yeah.
But you knew, you looked to your left and you knew that guy would be in a bunker with you. You looked to the right and you know that guy would be in a bunker. So if it did kick off, then you wouldn't be alone. And that is why I've always been an advocate of national service. Because when you're in that kind of age bracket, and I think males are definitely, they need to get the testosterone out, and that, during those days, the only way you could do that was by going to a football, I suppose, and getting it out that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one thinking along those lines.
Well, I think there's a lot to be said for national service. I think it can have a lot of benefits to helping, especially young people who aren't quite sure what they want to do. I think like a few years in the army and such can do a world of good. It can also help them focus on what they want to do. It can give them a bit of money when they come out to do what they want to do, or they might just find that they want to stay in the army or whatever. I think there's a lot to be said for it. And equally, not that I'm like one to preach the pro-government line, because I think too many soldiers have died for meaningless wars and fights which mean nothing. The people don't mean nothing, but who they're fighting for in terms of the leaders of the country it makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest. But that's a whole nother show and a whole nother story.
Definitely, I'm sure they're still looking for the
weapons of mass destruction.
That's correct.
Still going.
You took the words out of my mouth, then.
Yeah, it's because they're in the People's Republic of Dowlis, probably.
No comment.
So, like we mentioned, you ended up being a councillor in Merthyr, which was that something you were always interested in, or was it just something kind of which happened organically?
I did start to get into it towards the end of my teens, beginning of my 20s. I then went travelling. Lived in Sydney with many people from the South Wales area and many Cardiff fans. And then I went on to personally. Then I went on to Thailand. Lived in Thailand, Vietnam, London, and Japan. So I actually did live in a communist country, Vietnam, for when it was definitely not on a holiday brochure, I tell you.
Yeah.
That was an experience. But yeah, I did take an early interest in politics. Maybe blindly. I look back now. But it's not a bad thing that youngsters take an interest in politics, I suppose.
No, I think so. I think there's a lot to be said for keeping an eye on what's going on in the world and within, your own country and the world generally. I'm no one for politics these days as much as I used to be maybe a few years ago.
Agreed.
Because it just does my head in. Because the thing which bugs me about it is not what opinion, Fred Blogs has got or what opinion Mrs. Blogs has got. I don't care what anyone's opinion is. I defend everyone's right to have an opinion. What I don't like is the people base their opinions on horseshit like The Sun or the BBC and people who just... It's propaganda. Like in 2020, BBC News or Sky News, whatever it is, propaganda, and I
Yeah.
can't be doing with that, because then
Well,
you're not basing your opinion on facts. You're basing it on one side of a story.
Well,
And if you
basically,
base it, go on.
oh, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right.
Basically, I'm sure you're the same. I was brought up on politics being left and right. Now it's all changed. It's them and us.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and while I always have been of a mindset that you get as far in life as you can to reap the benefits. Sometimes nowadays those positions are completely alien to you because of different factors, I suppose.
So, how did you go from, like you say, you had like a kind of loose interest in politics in your teens and 20s? How did you go from that to being a councillor in Merthyr?
Yeah, no problem. I wasn't at the time. I was in 2008. I actually got elected, but I did actually go for the elections, and lost by 13 votes in 2004. I wasn't affiliated to any party because I liked kind of that bit from one manifesto, that bit from another manifesto. So I went as a Labour an independent candidate, against a whole Labour field. So that was I was more well known in the Gurners because my family were from the Gurners, even though we grew up in Dowlais.
Yeah.
And with me going to Bishop Headley School, which was on the border of Gurners, I just thought I'd have a better chance of standing there in that ward. So I lost by 13 votes, and had I got in, I was way too young. I look back, I thank God I didn't at that time.
How old were you? How old were you then?
2004, I would have been 26.
It is quite young enough for politics, like for a councillor in a big place like that.
Very much, but it did hurt me. Losing by such a small margin did hurt me because I was then informed after the result came in and things started to settle down. I was then informed by nurses of a nursing home that the standing Labour candidates were councillors at the time. The postal votes were sent out to residents of that nursing home around about 2 weeks before the actual election date.
Okay.
And I was informed that the councillors basically knew what date the forms would be received, and they went to the nursing home and they filled out the voting papers or the ballot papers, the postal ballot papers of residents who were blind.
Right.
Now, if you looked at the, and this is all in public record, if you looked at the people, the voting patterns of the people who went to the polling station compared to the people who done the postal votes, bearing in mind they're living in the same area, completely different. Completely different. At that time, it was around about 100 people in that nursing home, and yet I lost by I lost by 13 votes. I then made
could have been close, couldn't it?
I made a complaint to the electoral commission, but and I put that said person who informed me of this, name.
The issue behind it.
Yeah. But so that hurt then basically took me on to the next election in 2008.
So that must have made you quite determined to
Very much,
really
yeah.
see if you could do it, because even if you then in the next election, you don't get elected, you just want a fair shake at it, I guess, because you must have felt a bit like you've been screwed over a bit.
Very much so. Very much so.
And then it's the non-knowing, isn't it? It's the non-knowing whether those votes from that home, would they have made the difference? Would you have won if that wasn't for that? Would you not have? And you never know. There's no way to know.
Exactly. But the person who told me, I got my complete confidence in what she told me was 100% correct.
Yeah.
Why would she tell me otherwise?
No, I guess there's no need for.
I'd say the voting patterns were completely different to the people who went to the polling station compared to the.
Yeah. So
bearing in mind they're living in the same area.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So you lived 2004. You ran. You missed out by 13 votes, controversially, maybe we'd say.
Yeah.
And then the next election, 2008. The next time it was up, 2008.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's
so you
right.
ran in 2008. How long does the election and the run up? Like, how much time we talking in terms of when you go like papering or you go and speak to people, or how much time did that take?
Legally, you can only do it a month before the election is called.
Right.
But people do tend to sitting councillors would tend to bend the rules by putting out, by putting out newsletters and so on. So technically, that would not be election paperwork.
Yeah,
it would be.
But it's
it
just
would
an
be,
idea, sort of thing.
Yeah. Again, it all goes on propaganda. But I got married in 2007, and by this time, my recruitment business was going from strength to strength. So I had a bit more money behind me to do the following election.
Yeah.
Than I did in 2004.
So so if I say I wanted to run for election, I don't, and I won't ever. But if I
don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Do you get funding for that in any way?
If you're representing a party, you should get funding. Although later in this conversation, I'm sure that that
will come up.
That will come up. But if you represented the party, you will get funding. If you're going under independent, you go fund it yourself.
All right. Okay. So you had to fund that second run as well. You had to fund both. You were doing a bit better professionally in the 2008, so you had a bit more behind you.
Plus, for that month then, for the run up the election, I was losing work, my professional work. Basically, I had a month off, so it's also the hidden financial factors as well to it.
So what sort of in that month, that run up where you're running for the councillor position, what sort of stuff are you doing day to day in that?
Going to a printer's, it seemed like every day. But I deliberately knocked on every single door on what was then my ward consisted of 4,500 households.
Okay.
Things have changed now with certain areas being knocked down and so on. But I made sure that I knocked every single door of the ward. Because at the time, I was living in Penarth. I wasn't even living in Merthyr. So I was at the mindset that, look, I'm already technically behind the others because they can talk to people when in a local pub, a local shop, a local newsagent, blah, blah, blah. So I had to go that one step further. So I made sure I knocked every single door.
And then what would you do then? Just talking to the people, seeing what
talking
they
to
want,
people, yeah.
what they're looking for.
After a while, with all due respect, I'm sure this is everywhere, but after a while, you tend to understand. In business, you would say you understand the customer base, but you're talking of residents really.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
after a while, you understand that people have got the same problems, the same issues that go to people. So, it would
Like,
all roads would come up, um, you know, lack of bus services would come up. So as time went on, or as the campaign went on, basically you'd be saying the same thing to 1,000 people. Something turned out 1,000. You could work it quite easily then.
yeah, and I guess in some ways it's like the people who are going to win are the people who can during that conversation, when these people are saying, they're upset or they're angry about X, Y, and Z, is
Yeah.
if you've got a solution to that, which you can, sort of trot out, for lack of a better term, they're going to vote for you, aren't they? Because they're going to
Well,
remember you as, oh, there's Adam. He was really nice, but he also, when I said about the roads or the bin men or whatever, you said, oh, I want to do this.
well, also as well.
You've got their vote then, haven't you?
Also as well, well, you've got to remember that is not the ward I was fighting, which was a Gurnest ward, even ever since its creation, in the 1960s, there's never been a non-Labour councillor representing them. So I was coming across I'm voting Labour because my mum voted Labour, my grandma voted, that kind of attitude, when some people didn't really have a mindset to think themselves what was
Yeah,
best
and I
for
think
them.
that's common as well up the valleys, isn't it? Is
Yeah,
where
yeah.
people have always voted the same thing,
So
forever. It's in their
it,
family. Their families have always voted that. So it's very difficult to break that. It's very difficult to
exactly.
break that cycle of, oh, my granddad used to vote for this, and then dad, and then mum, and then everyone votes for the same thing. Which again, that says a lot. Like, what people forget, who, maybe we'll discuss in a minute, but like people who've criticized you over the years, particularly around that time when you got elected, is you were
Yeah.
elected by the people. So it is then your job to do your best for those people, those residents, those people who have voted for you. That's your only job, is to do what's best for them.
I
Not
think
to,
I think looking back, and if I'm honest with you, I don't really look back to that period of my life much, because I look back, I think, why the hell did I take a pay cut? But but that's another
yeah.
matter. But looking back, it just shows how many hurdles I did actually get over, to actually be elected on that day.
Yeah.
Generations of Labour supporters, up against party funding, up against more local people, more local living people, let's just say, than what I was.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just those kind of hurdles alone should
Yeah,
have
before you get into
yeah,
policies and things like that.
exactly.
So you've done the month run up where
Yeah.
you're canvassing and you're speaking to people and doing, I'm assuming, telling people what your manifesto is, if you like, or your what your policies are.
Yeah.
Election day comes.
Yeah.
Were you confident, nervous?
You shouldn't.
Didn't care. Didn't care.
I was confident because of what I was hearing on the doorstep. But anyone
Okay.
who's put their name forward for an election will tell you, don't ever listen to anything. Don't ever be confident that anything you've heard on the doorstep.
Yeah,
Because
people
what they
just want to
tell
get
you,
rid of you.
what they tell you compared to what they actually vote for can be two completely different things.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'll come back to it later, but although people don't realise that although who you vote for is actually withheld. No one knows about it.
Yeah.
What is not withheld is that who actually takes time to go to the polling station. So a few days later after the result, you can then go to the local council offices and you can find out who the candidates can find out which households voted, who in the household voted. They just can't find out who they voted for.
Oh, right. Okay. I did not know that. I thought it was all completely confidential, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So you're waiting. What sort of wait is that? Like, you must wake up in the morning, and then doesn't it not get announced until the evenings then? So it's like quite a long day of waiting around.
Yeah, election day is a very, very long day. Absolutely just and basically when the polling stations open until they close, and then you have to go down to in my case, what was the local leisure centre. So, but you're probably looking at, I don't know what time they open now these days, maybe 8 o'clock in the morning until the last count may be done at 5 o'clock the following morning. It's a good 20
Long day,
hours.
innit?
Yeah, good 20 hours you're up for.
You must have gone through a lot of emotions in that 20 hours of ups and downs and anxiety. And
when I open a box, when I open a box and I tip a box, because which polling station the box comes from, and in my mind, I knew what areas I needed to win over, what areas were easier for me.
yeah.
So when that particular polling station box opened, one of the most pleasing feelings and I have ever had in my life was seeing a ballot paper with an X right by my name,
Yeah.
because it was that person took their time to go to the polling station and put their faith in me to help them improve their lives for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
And I tell you, on about emotions, that even as a rugged 28-year-old or whatever I was, that kind of like brought a tear to my eye, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, and I guess for someone like you've mentioned who has had issues with around, being rejected or fear of rejection, seeing that people were voting for you even before you found out that result, just seeing people have taken the time to walk or to go to their polling centre and put that X next to your name, that must have been a big thing for you.
Very much so, very much so. The pleasing part of it was that by that time, the elderly people's homes had knocked down, so I didn't have that question mark than what I did 4 years earlier. Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
But I knew I'd done a good job in campaigning on that, and the result come through. But one thing I will always remember on that election day, which was from one of the Labour candidates, because the candidates get told the result before it's actually announced. Only about 2 or 3 seconds. But one of the Labour candidates went straight to me and he said, Adam, let me give you a bit of advice. He said, because at that time, the following election was going to be 5 years on.
All right.
And
Okay.
he said, you'll never understand the council until at least halfway through your term. That was, I played that down. I was in so much euphoria. I played that down. But how true he was, it was incredible.
So, how many did you win by?
Top of my head, about 250.
That's a bit of a, to go from losing from such a tight, 13 votes to then winning, not by a landslide as such, but it's a big margin, bigger
Well, it's
margin.
it's small, really. We're talking local politics, really. So, on a if you look at the history of how that ward has been, 250 is quite a big margin, really.
Yeah. So there you are, Councillor Adam Brown.
Yeah.
Age just under 30, is it?
When I was the first non-Labour councillor in a Gurnish ward.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, what the fuck have I put myself in for?
Yeah. When was the first time where you just thought, Jesus, what have I done?
Probably when the first paycheck came in, if I'm honest. when the first paycheck came in, and also when I was getting absolute nonsense phone calls at all hours of the night, for ridiculous things, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
The two most memorable was during the middle of the night, because the problem is they trust in you so much. They trust you more than what they would trust the police.
Mm.
So I'd have people ringing me up and saying, I can see someone breaking into the car down the street. So my immediate reaction is like, well, have you phoned the police? No, I thought I'd give you a call.
Yeah, not quite sure what to do with that, are you, really?
They call me before they call the police. And another one was, and she was a sweet old lady, but it was, Councillor Brown, can you help me? She was crying. Old lady was crying. I said, oh, what's wrong? She said, my cat is fighting with next door's cat.
Mm-hmm.
What can you,
what you're supposed to do, yeah?
Exactly.
Because whatever you say is not going to be satisfactory to that.
Yeah.
Like if you say, just leave them because they're cats.
I know.
If you say, if is there a neighbour who can do it, why can't there's nothing which you can really say which is going to give a satisfactory answer.
Exactly. And what people don't realise, and it's easy for people to say, oh, councillors are paid so much money, blah, blah, blah. If you actually add it up, and I did do this one time, right? If you added up the actual time you had in meetings and so on, but also added up the amount of on-call periods you had, so in a night you're on the phone, blah, 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 actually amounted to, and I will always remember this, £3.92 an hour. That's how much.
It's not as glamorous as people perhaps think.
No.
The problem is you see so many stories about fiddled expenses and second homes and all these various things in politics, and MPs who are doing things they shouldn't, that people have got a picture in their head, even at local politics, that all these councillors have got 2 houses, they got numerous cars, and they get paid a fortune to do it. And that's probably not the case for some of them. Some of them are.
Well, we'll go into that. We'll go into that as the time goes on. But I'm sure there's a couple of issues you want to highlight before we go into that aspect.
I'm looking for you to tell the story from your point of view at the end of the day. So there you are, Councillor Adam Brown, just under 30. Which is still young, really, to be a councillor for a ward that size. And I'm sure you feel now that you could probably do a better job than you could have then, just because of experience and age and maturity and stuff like that.
Yeah, maturity is the key word. Maturity is the key word.
Were you? Do you think like you were prepared for what was to come over the following years?
No, no, definitely not.
Well,
Definitely not.
you certainly got the attention that you mentioned you were craving previously when you were younger. I mean, you only have to, like, obviously before we done the show, I had a quick Google of you, and there's Wales Online articles about you. Was that difficult to deal with? Like, obviously, we'll go into the kind of the reasons behind them and stuff in a minute, but like, was it difficult to have your name kind of like broadcast on Wales, you know, in the local papers and things like that?
With myself, it was I got in the end. I got a thick skin in the end,
Yeah.
but it was far more difficult for my family. Far more
Yeah, I
difficult
was
for
going
my
to ask about
family.
that. It must have been difficult
You
for
know,
your, you know,
both
for your
both
wife and stuff.
my mum and dad,
Yeah.
my wife at the time, and they didn't put their name forward,
Yeah, of
you
course.
know, for election, and but they were affected far worse than what I was, because in the end, to me, it was like water off a duck's back. But for them, they wasn't used to that kind of local kind of limelight, I suppose.
Yeah, so there you are. You're just under 30, Merthyr Councillor. How long did you last? Of the
4 years,
four,
one term.
four. So you did the whole full term.
Yeah.
Um, looking back, how do you think it went overall?
Had his ups and downs. I'm very proud of some of the things. Very proud of, you know, very, very proud of some of the things in which I've done. Absolutely failed in some of the other things. And failed is a kind of widespread word, I suppose. Let myself down in certain areas. Promised things in which I knew I couldn't deliver. But on a whole, I think I done all right. Although people will always remember the bad things rather than the good things, because what the likes of Wales Online used to do, you see, was the good things were only put into the Merthyr Express. But I wasn't living in Merthyr, where you got to remember. So the bad things would then go into the South Wales Echo, and then they have the audience of my neighbours, of my wife's work colleagues, so on and so forth. But the good things were only put into the Merthyr Express,
so like a
you know.
smaller audience. Yeah.
You know. So
do you remember when the first time was where you had something kind of negative printed about you?
the Amanda Knox thing. Surely someone brought that up on Cardiff City website. Basically, I had a mindset that nothing could touch me. You know, it's the kind of mindset I'm sure a lot of target-driven 20-year-olds kind of have, but you trip yourself up type of thing. You know, I put sexual innuendo message on the Cardiff City forum. I didn't put it under my name, but it was picked up quite quickly from the Echo, and good old Martin Shipman picked me up on it, really.
Okay. So was that something? Now I'm not familiar with that, so I
All right,
can't
okay,
really
all right.
say
You need
either
to
way.
tell me. You need to tell me what stories you're familiar with and what you aren't.
Well, no, I know not a great deal. I saw. Let's have a look. Oh, I've just googled it now.
Yeah, no worries.
So yeah, I think I'm assuming whatever I haven't read it yet. So, but whatever you've posted on there was kind of tongue in cheek and whatnot. But I mean,
Go on.
the problem is the position you were in.
Yeah.
It wasn't the brightest thing for you to do, I'd imagine.
No. I mean, basically, because it hit home of because I had a mentality of nothing can touch me now, and that was the first thing, you know, I fucked up on. Let's completely, you know, I'll be completely honest with you. Sorry, mate. 1 second. Uno más. Yeah, sure.
No, you're right.
No, I have plugged you. Sorry.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I'm just getting another drink or so. Yeah, so that's the mindset I had, and it hit me bad. That report almost had the divorce solicitors, you know, knocking on my door, knocking on my spare bedroom door within a few hours. I tell you.
So yeah, that must have been, but it must have been a lot of pressure on your wife as well in that period. Anyway, just from the attention.
I mean, yeah, that's right. I mean, there was a few other stories, and I'm proud. I'm proud of it. During that time, I was very vocal of the handling of Merthyr Football Club, Merthyr Tidville Football Club, as it was called at that time, by the owner and the other directors. So when I got elected, about a year later after I got elected, I then have a call off one of the directors and saying, "Can I, can we pick you up?" Basically, chauffeur driven, up to the owner of Merthyr, of the football club at the time, who was living in Banbury. And I just thought, because I was, you know, I would have to accept the kind of invitation, basically because I was an elected councillor of the town.
Yeah.
So I went up there, and you know, if you had followed me online at that time, I was so anti the owner. Even a lot of the Merthyr supporters were against me, because maybe they didn't have the background knowledge that I had at the time, because of my council links.
Yeah.
So that meeting happened, and you know, I was confused. You showed me around his villa with an indoor swimming pool and everything else, and I was confused. I ended up, and I said, Win Holloway, the guy was, and I said, "Mr. Holloway, why have you introduced me up here? You know, why have you not invited me up here?" And he said, I need you to help me out. And if I can help you, if you can help me out, I will help you out. Well, at the same time, he was trying to relocate Merthyr Stadium to an area in the town called Redcar West, who they were having trouble getting planning permission for. The last time, which was before the election, last time the plan permission went forward, it got through the council, but it was pulled in by the Welsh Assembly. Then the election happened, and including myself, the independent group took over Merthyr Council. So he couldn't get it past the new council. Never mind the Welsh Assembly. If you can you see where I'm coming from now?
Yeah.
So the invitation up there happened, and he said to me, "Look, Adam, if you can get other people or other independent councillors to put through my planning application. I will put £450,000 into an Isle of Man account to you, and you can tell any other independent councillor that I will put £250,000 into an Isle of Man account for them.
It's a lot of money.
So, yeah. So, I wanted to leave straight away because I didn't want to go into any further detail into such a conversation. I wanted to leave further away. On the way back, other directors were trying to convince me. Well, I didn't say a word on the way back, not a word. You're talking Banbury to Penarth. So I don't know, 3 hours is it, or whatever.
Good couple of hours, isn't it?
Yeah, longest 3 hours of my bloody life, I tell you. So I spoke to my wife about it, and she said, "Look, Adam, you don't know how widespread this kind of brown enveloping is happening. You've only now recently been elected."
Yeah.
She said, you're going to have to, for your own benefit, people put their trust in you to do what is right for the town. You're going to have to report it to them. So the following night, I had a full council meeting, and then after the council meeting, I had a private meeting with then Deputy Chief Executive of Merthyr Council, and two other councillors were also present. And I told them exactly the offer which was put to me. Within, 48 hours, I have the South Wales Police Fraud Squad under me. Saying, "Oh, look, we've had this claim, via Merthyr Council. We need to talk to you." So they come to my house. They done an recorded interview with me.
Yeah.
And after, 2-3 hours maybe, they asked me if I go for another meeting, but when a wire. I said, absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. You got the information. That's it now. I have done my bit. I have told everybody about it. That is it. I don't know, about 2-3 weeks later, they arrested me for wasting police time.
Were you shocked by that? Did you see, or should I say, did you see that coming when nothing materialised in the weeks after?
Yeah, nothing.
So you've reported it. You've reported it to the council. You've reported it to the police. They've asked you to wear a wire. You've said you'd rather not.
Yeah.
And then
I remember. You see, right? I tell you how I remember this. My wife won tickets to watch a show called Chicago in the Millennium Center, right? And she won it on a radio program. I don't know which one it was now. So I had to do a couple of recruitment meetings in a day, and she was ringing me up. She said, "Adam, there's a couple of cars full of men parked up outside our house, just staring at, and this was going on for hours and hours." I said, "What the hell?" So I finished those meetings. Well, I postponed them really. I got back down, and they were undercover police, and they arrested me there and then. And you know what? My ex-wife, or my wife at the time, she never forgave me for missing bloody Chicago. I tell you, but yeah, it.
So you were arrested. What did they arrest you for? Wasting police time.
Well, they tried to put other things on me, which didn't add up, but it was wasting police time basically. That's what after certain other charges were dropped, it was.
And so they sent all those people to arrest you for wasting police time. It seems like overkill.
They took electronic equipment.
Mm.
I'm sure and they would have checked that. But at the end of the day, they could only do me for wasting police time.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been traumatic, to say the least. Like, that must have been distressing for you, for your wife, for your mum, everything.
Yeah, for everybody. For everybody. Never forget it. And you think to yourself, years later, you think, Jesus, you know what? It probably would have been less trauma if I took the bloody bribe in the first place. Do you know what I mean?
So, so there you are, sat in the police station. You've been charged with wasting police time and whatever else. What was the reaction of the councillors who you had reported it to? Did they kind of just cut ties with it and say
no? The problem is councillors within the group. They got more faces than Big Ben. They'll have one face, to you, and other people. You can't trust them. I got more knives. Yeah. I still got the knives in my back from when a bastard stabbed me in the back so many times. So to me, it probably was. It probably was. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry that you. Oh, we have to fight it. And realistically, it probably thought, fuck him.
So, was that the end of that matter, or did they prosecute you for it, or did they drop the charges for the wasting police time?
No, they prosecuted me.
So they prosecuted you for wasting police time.
Yeah.
What was the reaction in the in the media?
Nothing.
They did drag your name through the mud for it though.
Didn't do a single report on it. Didn't do it. It was all hush hush. All hush hush.
And then, how long did that owner of Merthyr stay after that?
Oh, I don't know. I think it went. I don't know.
What was his name?
Win Holloway. It was probably about 2 years. After that.
Have you ever spoken to him again since?
No. Did
he ever try and contact you afterwards to sort of say?
No. I then went because I had fallen out with the independent group about a year and a half later, or 2 years later, and UKIP approached me.
Right.
So this was after the bang approach. UKIP approached me, and at that time, UKIP only had one elected member, one elected person in the whole of Wales on all levels of the political mindset. The only elected person they had was a European MEP.
Right. Okay.
And I fell out with the independent group because they wanted to ban all smokers from adopting kids. Well, as an adopted person myself, and both my parents were smokers, and they still are smokers at the time.
Mm.
I was outraged at this because it would A, keep more children in foster homes,
Yeah.
and B, it wouldn't put the trust into a parent to know that smoking around a child is bad. So they could, if
Yeah.
they wanted to smoke, they'd have to go outside, you know? So I did say, if you're putting this through, I'm leaving the group. That is how strong I was against it.
Yeah.
They said, the leader of the group then went to me, yeah, no problem. Okay, we'll delay it, and we'll get more, information. Okay, no problem. The vote went forward. They didn't delay it. They voted it through. They stabbed me in the back big time. So, I then went from the independent group, and within 24 hours, UKIP approached me. I'm not a fascist or racist or anything, but I was in a vulnerable position at the time. I was thinking, I'm completely on my own now. Numbers wise, in a council chamber of 33. So UKIP unofficially approached me and said, "Look, if you come over to us, you would be the second highest UKIP UKIP politician. So we know that the MEP, who is the current MEP, will not stand next time round. So if you come over to us, we will guarantee you that you will be the name on a MEP ballot paper."
Okay.
Now, I was a target-driven youngster at the time.
Yeah.
So I went over to them. I lost a few friends over it, but I
What's
thought to
that?
myself,
Just from the kind of labels that
yeah,
UKIP have
that's
got.
right.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have the backing which they've got, like
that's right,
nationwide now, did they? I know still some people still associate certain things and views with them now, but not so much as what they did. 10
No, I
years
know.
ago.
I
10 years ago, they were considered almost extreme right wing, weren't they? Not
exactly.
extreme, but like they were the right to the right, if you like.
Yeah. And that's the only. Okay, being a selfish-minded, target-driven person was the only reason why I took that opportunity there, because I thought to myself, look, I'm earning pennies as a councillor, but yet if I went that way, and they followed up and they promised, then I would earn far more, in 3-4 years' time.
Yeah, and they'd fund your campaign and stuff, I assume, as well.
Yeah. So yes, I come back on I'm flip flopping on my political kind of mindset, but financially, being on council started to really hurt.
Yeah.
So that was it, then.
So you went from being independent to go into the UKIP to be a UKIP MP.
Well, councillor.
Sorry.
And that is the following one. Then really was when Merthyr Football Club went bust and into administration. I've known Annis Abraham, Steve Day from my following Cardiff City days,
Mm-hmm.
and Sam Man as well. And we put a small consortium together in trying to get the football club out of administration.
Okay.
I tell you, if anyone will tell you just how hard it is to get a football club out of administration, bloody hell. Talk about knocking your head against a brick wall at times. But but at one point we thought we had a deal.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we then realised that the supporters wouldn't come with us because the supporters. It turned out that the supporters wanted to run the club itself. Basically, we would give them our money, and they would do whatever they want to us.
Right.
They would do whatever they want with it, and that was never going to happen. Well,
Yeah.
you know, what business owner would do that?
Mm.
You know, being a supporter of a football club is one thing, but running a football club is a completely different issue.
Well, yeah, of course, it's a business, isn't it?
Yeah. So, we were very, very close, and we had to deal with the administrator. When Holloway was happy with it, but at the final, certain members of the supporter base at Merthyr got word that we were very close and started to generate a campaign of, okay, it's going to be let's get them to fund a supporters-owned football club rather than us running our own football club, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It was.
So it was pretty much
pulled out.
doomed
Yeah,
after that,
pulled
then,
out.
yeah.
We pulled out. We pulled out shortly after that.
Right, okay.
And the only other thing that's really happened, and this is the the biggest issue I'm proud of when I was on council, is that I was actually banned from council. I was suspended for 9 months for council for leaking information.
Yep.
A resident informed me that, in social housing, if, for example, back in the 70s, if, for example, you needed a new fire or you needed a new, bath or something, it was put on to your rent. So, for example, you could be doing £50 a month rent, which would then go up to £55 a month, but the repair would be done.
Okay.
However, the council never stopped those payments. So from the 1970s, going up to 2010, 2011, we were still paying for that bath or that fire or that, central heating many decades later. And some many people died.
Still paying for that.
Still paying for
stuff.
Yeah.
And
So
was it a mistake or was it intentionally done, do you think?
Well, you can never tell, can you? But when I brought it up, it was I was asked, because I realized just how many people this affected, how many families, whether it was, younger generations of certain families who started with those agreements. I realized that the numbers were potentially really big.
Yeah.
We're talking about big numbers here. So I did approach them, and they tried to blag it and said, look, Adam, the numbers potentially so big it could bankrupt the council. Can you give us 6 months on it? So I said, okay, no problem. Okay, 6 months. If you don't give me your true figures within 6 months, I'll leak this to the press. And that was warning straight on. 6 months after every month, saying, how close you, give me your figures. 6 months after, nothing come. I then, through another person within that council, had the figures were it would be overcharging of £11.1 million over the years, and potentially it affected about 2,500 families. So I then took that information to the papers, and the council took me to task on it. I was in a kangaroo court, which they call the Ombudsman office in Bridgend or wherever it is. And they asked me 3 times to apologise. I would never apologise. Why would I apologise if I've had, if I brought out the truth that many families, many hard up families have been paying so much for so many decades.
Yeah.
And had I not brought the issue up, they
still be
continue to do it. Yeah. So I was suspended 9 months, and as a suspension, then it cost me in wages about 9,500. But, and this is how devious I was at that age. I thought I was working out the dates. I had the inkling they were going to give me a 9 month suspended. And I thought, right, okay, 9 months would take me to 3 months before the following election. And I thought, okay, if I took the financial hit of 9,500, then potentially, if I campaigned it right, it would give me another 50 grand over the next 4 years. Not the nicest way to think about it. But,
but at the end of the day, like from your point of view, and what you've just told me is like your conscience was clear because you discovered something, and it was you felt that it was the right thing to do, was to expose it. You also gave them the chance to rectify it and put it right. And they didn't, and then you got punished for effectively telling the truth about the very people who elected you were being screwed over, for lack of a better term. So, look, it's my opinion that particularly in local politics, the MPs and the councillors or whatever, they work for the people of those areas which have voted them in. They should do everything they can for those people because they're the people who put them where they are. Without those people, they would not be where they are. So they should only have the interests of those people in their in their jobs, in their hearts, in their day-to-day things. And I think from what you've said, and for like I didn't know a lot of this, so it's your side of the story completely. And there's always other, I'm sure if I had the other people on, they'd say X, Y, and Z. But
what they say is three versions of every story, isn't it? One person's the other person's, and the truth.
Yeah, that's right. and as I've said before on many shows, is that the views expressed by the guests are not always the views which are mine and Ace Podcast Nation as a channel. But from what you've told me, I think it's safe to say when it comes to this, you did the right thing. Like, well, I'd like to think that if I was in the same situation, that I would do the same thing.
Unfortunately, the people didn't
if
think
everything's
that.
as it seems.
Unfortunately, the people didn't think that, because 3 months later, when the following election, I got absolutely trounced. Absolutely trounced, but never mind.
Did the like Wales Online or other media outlets, did they not like kind of like back you in terms of
No, no way.
you've helped expose this I don't know what the word is, theft,
No, what people
fraud,
don't
whatever it may be.
realise is that Wales Online, or at the time, were owned by Mirror Group newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
Mirror Group newspapers are one of the biggest donors of the Labour Party.
Ah, right, okay. So
So
it all
yeah,
circles back in the end,
it
doesn't it?
does. It does, yeah. So
Unfortunately,
if you're against the Labour Party, then you're always going to be their number one target.
yeah. So what just lastly on this, what media outlets did you leak it to?
The local paper, Merthyr Express, which is part of Wales Online, basically. You
Yeah.
know, they took over every local valley newspaper,
Right, okay.
and yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, it's always only the bad press gets to the echo level.
Yeah.
All the good press will only go to the
The Merthyr
Merthyr
Express and
Express, Rumney Valley Gazette, Aberdeen, wherever.
yeah, of course.
You know.
Look, I don't want to keep you too much longer because obviously it's your Friday
Yeah,
night
no,
and
no
you're
worries.
setting it up. But
Yeah, I know. I got my mates the other side of his phone.
I know, I know, and I don't want to keep you too much longer. But
No worries.
obviously recently you've started Football with Brownie, which is
Yeah,
a YouTube channel, Facebook page.
that's
Um,
right. That's right.
like how did that come about, and where did the idea come from?
Well, I suppose it all comes from. I only started watching YouTube since I moved over here.
Mm,
Because when I was living with the ex-wife, one of the things I seemed to be watching was bloody X Factor,
mhm.
freaking Coronation Street, Descenders, and everything else.
Yeah.
Um, so with a combination of my Spanish not being 100%, but at that time it was even worse, and everything else, I started watching YouTube, and then I started watching YouTubers and trying to get a better idea of how it all works.
Mm,
I suppose the success of Arsenal Fan TV, or AFTV,
yeah.
you know, give confidence to many people that you only really need a phone uh,
Yeah.
to try your luck.
Yeah,
You spend it.
It's easier to do than ever, isn't it? Yeah, to
It,
record
it,
and
it is, and you know what? I may not get a penny for it. I may not ever make a penny for it, but it's nice doing something in which
you
you
enjoy it.
enjoy. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
and
I'm
and
there with
then
you with that.
and then one of the Spanish English printed papers picked up on it, and that led me to do football reporting, or what is now in
Match reports, isn't it?
match reports and articles, columnist, I suppose.
Yeah, so
Uh,
that's a bit of a jump, a change in direction for you, isn't it?
Very much so, but I enjoy it. But it just
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like it's one of those things. It's like I think people sometimes don't realize how much time goes into like a 10-minute video, like editing and stuff like that, or how much time goes into a podcast and things like this. But like I've done 150 episodes of my podcast now, and I can safely say that not one has felt like a chore or like I've
yeah, no, I
struggled to do
agree.
it. It's just I just enjoy it. It's something which I just love doing, and I'll speak to anyone. I'll speak to
Yeah,
people, and the thing is, like I've had people, really famous people. I've had normal people. I've had doctors. I've had journalists. I've had footballers, all sorts of people, and I enjoy speaking to all of them because everyone's got a story to tell. Everyone's got
I mean,
interesting.
with criticism, I didn't realize just how, just how lengthy this potentially could have been, because
Yeah,
we could have covered so many other parts.
well, that's it, isn't it? And it's
Definitely with the Cardiff City rebrand and my falling out, with many supporters there, because I was dead against it.
yeah,
I even had supporters ringing me up in my work, and I had to meet. I had to meet in Cardiff City Stadium, for a punch up. That was how crazy it was.
yeah,
I,
and I
and
mean,
I and I can. There's other things in which, but I just like to focus on, what is now.
yeah,
Um, you know,
and it's a shame, really. We couldn't have spoken a bit more about like what you're doing now and that, because I wanted to finish on a positive, because I know we spent a bit longer on politics perhaps than I thought we were going to, but that's just the way the conversation kind of went.
exactly.
It's
That's what I've enjoyed it. The fact that it's just gone with the flow. You know yourself. I've been panicking of what potential questions people would have sent in.
yeah, but
Because
the thing,
the ex-wife and ex-girlfriends, I thought may have been emailing you within minutes of you going public about our chat tonight.
no, I haven't had any anyway, so you're lucky. But I mean, I put a tweet out just the other day, and I said that the whole idea of my podcast is it's real conversations with real people, whether they are Premier League footballers, UFC fighters, or Joe Blogs from down the street, or a doctor, or whatever. That's what it is, and I want people to see the real people, not the people who perhaps are painted on
Well,
social media, or the people who are
well,
painted in
you know
UFC or
what?
whatever.
You know what, Si? Thank God my ex-wife is blocked on my social media. And my ex-girlfriends are blocked on my social media. Otherwise, you could have been, your
Could have had all
inbox could have
sorts
been,
of
yeah,
stories.
your inbox could have been full, I tell you.
Absolutely, mate. Right. I'm going to leave you to your Friday night now. So
And yourself, thank you very
tell the
much. So
people where
much
they can
appreciated.
find all your stuff, mate, on YouTube. And
Football with Brownie on YouTube. We've also got a Facebook page, and on Twitter @_ Adam Brown. Just joining the conversation. Um, I never thought I'd speak to so many Swansea fans as I have. I have been.
yeah,
Um, Football, no matter what language you speak, football is a world language,
yeah,
and
it brings people together.
exactly, and
We got people who watch the Andy Campbell show on a Monday night, the live one. From I think there's a couple of people in Spain who like watch regular. There's some people in America. There's people in
hang on.
France.
One of them is me. One of them is
Yeah,
me.
well, that's it. But no, there's a couple of people in Spain. There's a regular viewer who from France, like who he watches every week,
Yeah,
and he doesn't get involved in the comments because his English is not that good, and he
yeah,
doesn't like to. But every week he sends me an email afterwards and just sort of says, "Oh, really good show," but he uses Google Translate, and from what
yeah,
I can gather, I think he can follow like a conversation in English, but
yeah.
he can't like
Google
write.
Translate isn't 100%.
No,
That's
there's
just
just said I. It can
I've noticed.
sometimes take me
I've
time
noticed
to
that over the
work it.
year. I've noticed, but at the end of the day, if I can take this opportunity to, uh, just send my love to my friends and family back home, I'm all okay. A few more grey hairs these days. When I've been here 3 years. Um, Walking out on my ex-wife was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. She come over here twice. Um, but it needed to be done. Not our marriage was going down, but also, you touch upon other shows in which you done. Mental illness is definitely played a part then, and I think the life lesson I've learned in life is that when you're on your way up, don't ignore the people who got you there in the first place.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
because you need their help when it comes back down, and it will come back down.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've learned over the last probably 15 years, well, since I had my accident in 2008, that I've got a much smaller group of friends now than I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
but I know that small group of friends have got my back 100%. Whereas the people who I thought had my back 100% actually didn't. When I needed them the most, they were nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. I'm not gonna name names, but if they do watch this, I hope that they realize that I'm thinking of them while I'm listening to your comment.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
Hang on before you go, Shai? Did I used to work with you in the tax office years ago?
Yeah, don't tell people that though.
I
don't broadcast that to anyone.
No. I thought so. I thought it was Sandro.
Yeah, no, I was there. I was there for about 15 years. Yeah, I'm friends with Sandro.
Yeah. All right, no worries. Okay.
Sandro's my guy.
Cut
I like
it.
Sandro.
Hey,
I'll cut that bit out anyway. But yeah, guys, check out every Monday, 7 o'clock, Facebook Live and YouTube Live, the Andy Campbell Championship Show, fast becoming the best championship football show around. It's normally about 2 hours long. Myself and former Cardiff City striker Andy Campbell go through all the news of the week around the football world, and then we break down all the championship stuff. This week, I think we've had about 6,000 people watching between the YouTube and Facebook. So definitely get involved in that, because it's always fun talking football, and we interact with you as we're going along. All of our shows, whether it's football, MMA, mental health, whatever it may be, they are all available at youtube.com/ACEpodcast Nation in video, or pod.co/ACE-cast-nation in audio, and all the usual places: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere. And yeah, Adam, thank you for joining me, my friend.
Take care.
Absolute pleasure. And guys, we will see you next time.